we have to focus on our main talking points for this morning. We'll be having Mama Vioso Abwaji speak to the chairman of the NDC, chairman-elect. That is Ofosu Ampofo, and Samuel Ofosu Ampofo will be speaking to Mama Vioso Abwaji. We'll bring you all that, but we'll also bring you some great analysis on the subject. We'll look at the iPoll. It's just a poll. It has an app. We'll bring you the originator of that whole initiative. Dr. Kobi Mensah is with the University of Ghana Business School, but also is a consultant on political communication and marketing, and has had great experiences on how some of these issues work. He'll be joining us on Skype. We also have Norvan Akwa-Hayford and myself and Kojo Yankson will look at all the issues and all the relevant issues as they're off regarding the National Democratic Congress 9th National Delegates Congress that took place over the weekend. But let's start with an interaction we had with Samuel Ofosu Ampofo right within the period when the whole wrap-up event, the counting process was ongoing for the chairmanship race. He spoke to Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
So, just as he said, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo contesting for the national chairmanship position. Now, the information we are receiving is that Honorable Samuel Ofosu Ampofo is leading as far as the chairmanship position is concerned. And he is here in white with, of course, the NDC flag around his neck. And let me confirm for him, he looks very calm. Honorable, one would have expected that, I mean, there will be some kind of, smiley, expression on your face and, happiness, excitement, as you put it that way. But you look quite, calm.
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm very excited, but a very tired person. Because for almost 4 days now, I've not blinked an eye, I've not slept. And so, you can't cheat nature. Nature is having its own toll on me. And so that is why perhaps you see me in this. But I'm a very excited person because I believe that I waged a very strong and effective campaign. And it has paid off well. Indeed, I have come to the realization that hard work indeed pays. And I left Accra for 9 weeks. And then for that 9 weeks, I never came back home and visited all the 275 constituencies, interacted with them, and then sold my vision to them. And they bought into it. And that is a reflection of the results that we have.
But the electoral, the EC officials are still counting the result.
Well, my counting agents have devised a system where they have been able to track the results. And so they have the results. And I know that I have won the day.
That's quite interesting. Now, what is Samuel Ofosu Ampofo bringing on board as the chair of the NDC?
Well, I bring on board a lot of years of experience, having served the party for the past 26 years in various capacities, and having risen through the ranks to become a national organizer of the party for 8 years, and again as a national vice chairman of the party and director of elections. You realize that I have served the party at the very highest level. The only position left in the party for me to occupy is the one that the party delegates have graciously given me to become the national chairman of the party. I think it's the highest calling that I've received in my political life. And I'm humbled by the support and enthusiasm that our delegates have shown in my candidature. And the fact that I have been supported all over the country, especially the interest the youth and the women generated in my campaign, is a source of encouragement that we will bounce back, especially on the youth front. Having studied the current national youth organizer for a few weeks or so that he has been in office, I have no doubt at all that together, if we'll be able to revive the front of the youth and also to energize the base of the women. The women has been the backbone of the party for a very long time. And so together we find strategies of reviving the structures that made the NDC movement very thick. So these are some of the things that we've been doing.
I see. One of the things some have said that would pose a challenge to the NDC is the fact that your ward bank, and I mean the Volta region, though you have representation at the national level, perhaps in terms of decision making, they are not influential, and that would clearly go against the party. It would derail the efforts of the party going forward into 2020 election. As a chair, how do you handle?
Well, so Daniel Dazi also had an interaction with the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esiedu-Nketia.
General, congratulations once again.
Thank you, my brothers.
How does it feel?
Well, normal. This is a victory that is expected, so I feel normal.
Some would say that if you've done this 3 times already, then you must know how you must be used to it by now.
Yes, very well. I'm used to victory.
You say it's a victory that is expected, but many predicted a keen contest. In fact, election pollster Ben Efson said Koku Anyidoho, your former deputy, who was your opponent, was more likely to win. How did you manage to win with a 5,000 votes margin?
Well, the jury is out now, and by now we know which of the polls were genuine and which were fake. I know NDC, and I'm sure NDC also knows me very well. So when we are going into any poll, I can almost judge whether the people will be with me or they will not be with me. So for this race, I didn't have any difficulty at all. I knew the party would be solidly behind me. I wish I knew how to approach this question, but let me say that since I began this whole business of becoming a general secretary, I have never recorded any victory below 80%. And so, and I didn't feel like I have lost touch with the people, so I knew I would still deliver the 80%.
So even when you were hearing polls, you were hearing the iPoll, you were hearing Mr. Ben Efson, you were not shaken at any point?
Not at all, because I was confident that the people would judge me by my work. And when anytime I go around, the evidence is overwhelming that the people feel that, I continue to be as relevant as I was at the beginning of this whole business of being a general secretary.
You were suggesting that some of the polls may be fake. You said earlier that we now know which ones were fake and which ones are real. You stand by that?
Yes, because if you have polls and, they are way off the mark, the actual occurrences are way off the mark, the polls, then you should be worried about your methods of polling.
Let's talk about what you refer to, the NDC. You've been General Secretary for 13 years, now going on 17. What difference are you bringing about this time around?
I don't know where from 13 years you go to 17.
Of course, you're serving in a 4-year term. That's how come I say going on 17.
Going on the 14th now. So then we'll continue from there. Come again now with your question.
Yes, of course. I was asking what difference you would bring this time in this 4-year term.
Every period and every season in politics brings along its own challenges and prospects. You cannot be fighting new battles with old methods. So as we move along, because of the experience I have acquired over the years, when some developments come, we are able to fashion out solutions based on experience, because nature is such that nothing is new. So events keep recurring. So if you are experienced in a certain field of endeavor, that's how you are able to fashion out solutions for any emerging threats. I have said that the most significant threat to our victory in the 2016 election was disunity. You know, I'm talking, if I say disunity, I'm referring to how the elected executive was or was not working together very well. If you are in any battle or any war front, and you cannot take command from a uniform source, then you are in for trouble. And I am confident that with this new executive, that thing will be a thing of the past. It is not because there are new types of human beings, but it's because of the rhetoric that preceded both campaigns. When you took a look at what happened before the 2014 Congress in Kumasi, the rhetoric was much more hostile, and the campaign promises of the key actors was that it was based on the false impression that the General Secretary was too powerful and he needed to be caged, his wings needed to be clipped and all that. So all the persons who were campaigning for the various positions kept repeating that they were the guys who can do the job of clipping the wings of the General Secretary. And I thought that was dangerous. So I kept warning that I cannot imagine an enterprise which you are going to begin with people whose campaign promise was to cause disunity. You understand? So I kept warning, but those warnings were ignored. And once they got elected, and they had a campaign promise to fulfill, and that is to appear to be the ones who were clipping the wings of the General Secretary. And if the General Secretary is going to be the key actor in the elections, and you have people around him with the campaign promise of clipping his wings, I wonder how you can win election. But I think now everybody has learned their lessons, and the campaign rhetoric preceding this particular Congress was completely different. This time around, you saw all 5 contestants for the position of national chairman either campaigning for me or at least not campaigning against me. And I thought that was important.
It's very interesting that
when you come to the contestants for national organizer, the story was the same. Come to the contest for youth organizer, the story was the same. So it tells you one thing, that nobody is promising the party that their agenda is coming to create disunity. Okay? So everybody went around promising that they were the persons who can work closely with the General Secretary. So they themselves assume that somehow the General Secretary will be retained. So their trump card was to prove to delegates that they were the best suited persons to work with me. So now that the selection had been made, it will be difficult for those who lost to now go their own ways. If you invited them to play a role, they would have to deliver on, again, their promise of being the ones who will be able to work closely with the General Secretary.
I'm very curious about the people that you like to work with, even among those who did not win in the election. But this question about some elected officials in the previous administration working to clip the wings of the General Secretary, who were some of these people?
Now, I'm saying that virtually all the key actors went into campaign with that promise. Okay. So whether they actually were doing it or not, they will be perceived to have that agenda. Because if I went into these elections promising that, well, I'll work against a president, for instance, and the people vote for me, then everybody will be expecting that whatever I do will be towards working against that particular president. Okay, so that was, there was pressure from outside to like see them delivering on their promises. Okay, so that was what created a little bit of a problem, because you needed to prove that you are delivering on your campaign promise of clipping the wings of the General Secretary. And even where it came to perhaps me insisting that the right things according to the Constitution.
Right, and so that's what happened when Daniel Daze caught up with Johnson Asiedun Ketia. Now, you would have noticed that yesterday, throughout our coverage, we brought you details from the iPoll survey, which was carried out a couple of days before the Congress. 400 or so of the delegates were sampled in this exercise online, and several questions were asked them about who they would vote for. Now, you will be amazed at how the results of the actual vote are uncannily close to what the survey revealed. Norvan Akwaheford joins us again from the Joy Business team, and he, of course, has spent a lot of time with the iPoll data. Norvan, thanks again for your time, but amazingly accurate polling, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, when the results started coming, and then we're checking, results against what we had seen as far as iPoll was concerned, we were amazed to see, the fact that...
Right. We're seeking to connect to Norvan in just a moment. But this poll was put together by Dr. Kobi Mensah, who is a political marketer. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon. And he joins us, I think he's in the School of Political Science, if I'm accurate. He joins us now via Skype. Dr. Kobi Mensah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Let me say that I'm at the University of Ghana
Business School, forgive me, my mistake. Yeah. Now, Dr. Mensah, first of all, are you shocked at how close the results of the actual voting were to your poll?
No, we weren't shocked at all. I mean, this is an engine that we have been developing for the past 1 year. In fact, let me give some credit to Norvan as well. They've been part of the development. For the past 1 year, we've had a couple of journalists, including Norvan, Elvis, its founder, and then my colleagues, my team, Ato and some Eugene, who is the IT guy. We have been working on this for almost a year. We've been testing it on campuses, and we've been somehow certain about the potency of this engine. So we were not surprised at all.
Right. Now, the only area in which there was some slight variance was the race for national chairman. And over there were a couple of front runners. One of them was Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who did end up winning. So even there, you were pretty close to the mark.
That's correct.
But the prediction was for Dana Bodapi.
That's right. Now, before the poll was actually drawn down, I think Ofosu-Ampofo was actually leading. Now, on the second day, the second day, we saw Abu Dhabi, then leading.
Right.
And I'm thinking that if we had actually waited for a little bit, perhaps other, opinions had come in for us to see how it went. But of course, we were very satisfied, with how it turned out. In fact, it was just about 7 points different, from what we actually polled between Abu Dhabi and Ofusapo. So we knew it was very close.
Right.
But
now,
this is the beginning of the project that we think is going to have a fundamental shift in terms of impact in our political communication.
Okay, now Novan can now walk us through the specifics of the questions that you asked regarding each race. He'll do that very quickly, and then we'll come back to you to ask about the future, Dr. Mensah. So stay with us. Novan, I think we can now connect to you. So talk us through the results for each of the questions in the poll, and let's compare to what we actually saw on the night.
Okay, so we start with the chairmanship race, and the question was, in your view, which of the following candidate is the best for the position of national chairman? There were 5 people who were taking part in this contest. That was Betty Modi-Drisu, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who is now the elected chairman, Alhaji Hudu Yaya, you had Danny Anan and Dan Abu Dhabi. And if you look at the pie chart that we see here, you had 43% for Dan Abu Dhabi, and then you had 32 for Ofosu-Ampofo, 19 went for Alhaji Hudu Yaya, 7% for Betty Modi-Drisu, and Danny Anan getting 3%. So clearly, per this, what it meant is that it was a 2-horse race between Dan Abu Dhabi and Ofosu-Ampofo. But, you know, you look at it and you could say the more likely candidate would have been Dan Abu Dhabi, but it was a close contest between the 2 of them for the chairmanship race. And I mean, at the end of the day, what we saw is that Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo won the election. Now we move on to the next position, which is, in your view, which of the following candidate is the best for the position of General Secretary? 2 people were contesting, and the 2 people who were contesting were Johnson Asiedu Nketia and Koku Ahido. And interesting, the results showed that Johnson Asiedu Nketia was going to win. Massive. 86% yes for him, and then 15% yes for Koku Ahido. And at the end of the day, I mean, the results itself showed the massive support for Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who won the election yesterday and maintained his position as the General Secretary for the NDC. From there, you move straight to another position, that's the National Organizer position. Now, the question was, in your view, which of the following was best suited for the National Organizer position? 6 people contested, but if you take a look at the graph that we see here, I mean, it was a straight fight between 3 people who had come very close, which was Akamba Joshua Amidu. Then you talk of Enoch Amwakonsia, and then you had Solomon Yayan Kansa also, you know, having something there. Yabwatinjan, you know, also was in there. But at the end of the day, the likely person, according to this pie chart, was Akamba Joshua Hamidu, or Joshua Akamba as he's popularly known. And of course, having 34% here, when the vote was cast, he won the election. So which means that the iPoll was right with regards to that particular position there. Now we go to the position of communication officer between Fred Agbenyo and Sammy Gyamfi. This as well, look at this. The orange stood for Sammy Gyamfi, the blue was for Fred Agbenyo. So 66%, 35%. Clearly, at the end of the day, when they finished voting and counting was over, Sammy Gyamfi, you know, came up tops as the winner for that position. So that tells you that the iPoll got it right again here. And then from there, the Zongo caucus coordinator. Now, that also, there were 6 people who were contesting for that position. And the leading person, if you look at it, was supposed to be Abdul Aziz Mohammed, followed by one Abbas Husseini, who had 23%, and then also Alhaji Mahama Mohammed, also having 23%. The other contestant was Sadiq Soleh, Ismail Bawa, and then Baba Ibrahim Mohammed as well. Now, clearly, at the end of the contest, 36% for Abdul Aziz Mohammed, the same person who was declared the winner yesterday after the contest over there. So it gives you an understanding of what it is. Now let's look at the demographics, those who took part in this particular iPoll, an online polling that was done. Now, if you look at the age bracket, you realize that you had between the ages of 18 to 29, that was about 11% of them. Between the ages of 30 to 39, they make up 65% of it. That's the orange. And then between the ages of 40 to 49, they make up 16%. And then from 50 to 59, they make up 80%. And then over 60 years, they make up just about 2% in terms of the age demographics over there. Now you move on, and then an interesting thing comes up in terms of education. What was your last level of education? And we're looking at below senior secondary school or its equivalent, senior secondary or its equivalent, graduate or postgraduate. And it will shock you, Kojo, that graduates made up 46%. That is, graduate made up 46%, and postgraduate made up 31%. And then senior secondary school or its equivalent, 22%, and then 3% being below the senior secondary school, its equivalent. So that tells you that over 70% in terms of the age demographics, they are the ones, that took part in this particular polling.
That's fascinating. And if all the other statistics were as accurate as we saw them, then this is also a very accurate reflection of the education levels of the general population of delegates for the NDC. That's a fascinating comment on the character of the party and its followers. Now, Dr. Kobi Mensah is still with us on the phone, I believe. Doc, after the success and impact of this particular survey, I wonder what's next?
Okay, now we are still, in improving the engine. We are determined to make sure that we can actually build it up to a level where we can be almost certain of the polling that we conduct. Now, we're doing this just to make sure that we can better the politicking in this country. Most of the time, when you call us so-called experts, we are conjecturing and we are giving suppositions. I think there must be a space for most, scientific opinion, making sure that we can reflect what the people are thinking, and we can give also our political, actors much more robust data to work with. So that's what we're aiming at. So we're hoping that a lot of people will download the iPoll GH app to follow the conversation. Can you imagine during the IEA debate, for example, or if Joy FM will organize a presidential debate and we're asking people, what do you think of the performance of the candidate? We can have a fairly decent, scientific result as opposed to gesturing and then supposing that who won and who lost and that kind of thing. So I think it is a new dawn of political communication in this country, and we can all help make it better. As I said, some few journalists have actually committed themselves, including Novan, and other people in my own team. Eugene of Creative Bibine, who's done a fantastic job. In fact, these guys, young guys, are very dedicated in making sure that the engine can work. Right. I have my other colleague, Arthur, who's the general manager of iPoll GH, coming out with most of the research questions. I mean, fantastic team. Right. And we are committed to make sure that this works.
Now, is this a university initiative or a private one, or who owns this?
It's a private initiative, but I've had a lot of support from my colleagues on campus as well. I mean, Tanko at GIJ, I had Dr. Lord Mason, I'm sure you all know him, who is a finance guy, Dr. Senkutu, who's also in finance. They help us in the data. We also have some data scientists in the UK, University of Kent, who are also in the team, making sure we can have a robust data to work with. So it's a broad, perspective, from colleagues who are supporting to make sure that this data, this engine actually works for the betterment of this country's political system.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to even more work from iPoll. Dr. Kobi Mensah is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. He's also a political marketer. We appreciate your time. Yeah. Fascinating stuff there.
Yeah, it just speaks volumes about what could be done with many? I guess some of the comments that we can put to more like questions to Dr. Kobe Mensah would be with the subject of internet penetration, and if you look at where delegates usually are spread across the country, is it a point to say that those who usually will form the sample size would have access to telephony and telephony services, and would they know how to manipulate it? Can we make it more simple, or that's the best way? And then could they be having reminders, so to speak, so that they know that apart from just downloading, there's this point in time where you have to, because not everybody visits the apps that they upload.
Although, I mean, with this one, 400 over a period of 2 days, 400 delegates actually engaged and filled it out. And out of the 400 responses they got, 98% of them were actual delegates, while about 2% said, oh, we're not delegates. So there is a certain level of accuracy in their targeting. And even over a short period of time, they are still able to draw a significant number for their sample. But I think that little by little, especially looking at the educational level, the educational levels of this 400, if you put that alongside how accurate the actual polls were, you've got to say that this is quite representative. And
yesterday, and I had been, because he'd lectured me before, usually we have some private conversations, Dr. Kobe Mensah, and following those discussions I've had with him, then when we went to the Congress, I kept hearing phrases about grassroots. Back in the day when we started the 1992 Constitution and the democracy after 1993, when you say grassroots, the demographics usually were made up of semi-literate, illiterate people. So I kept telling the political party representative of the NDC who came yesterday that your grassroots is not the 1992 grassroots. Because whoever is staying at Keta in the Volta region or somewhere in, at Cape Coast somewhere is no more the average semi-literate or illiterate. The person is an university graduate in the village. So their needs will be different, and that's where you have to do proper targeting.
Absolutely. The population is changing. We need to reflect that in our political strategy. But speaking of political strategy, we've got even more to talk about from the fallout of this weekend's event. Dr. Seydou Alidu joins us for even more analysis of how it all unfolded when the NDC chose its leaders. Stay tuned, we're back with more.